anyone who's like really good in their career will recognize that it's more than just the salary that you should be chasing after. You should be chasing after the growing aspects of society and trying to find a company that's the next big thing, right? And if an employee is thinking that way, a talented employee is thinking that way, then you as a business owner, you have an advantage if you are that company.
Welcome to the Leader's Mindset, where we bring you conversations with leaders who are making an impact in business and our communities. Today, I'm here with Robert Grzesik. He's the CEO of LumiWealth and helps entrepreneurs and is helping people build great financial technology. Thanks for joining us today, Robert.
Thanks for having me. Fantastic.
It's my pleasure. I was really excited when you wanted to join us. So tell us about BotSpot. What is it? How is it going to help us all?
Yeah, so BotSpot is a brand new AI product that we just launched. And I feel like this has been a long time coming. So LumiWealth, for a while, we've actually been teaching people how to build trading algorithms using Python code for a number of years now. And sometime around October or November of last year, something very special happened in the world of software. And I'm not sure if you recognize that or if your audience recognizes that, but that's when ChatGPT released a model called O1, right? And this just changed everything, right? So when O1 came out, I'm a little bit obsessed with AI personally. But when it first came out, playing around with O1 really was this big step change. You know, when GPT 3.5 came out, people thought that was a big deal. When 4 came out, it was a big deal. For me, O1, that was a really big moment because that's when we went from an AI that you could talk to and ask questions versus an AI that could like write code for you and write it well, right? And it's only gotten better since then. So we recognize that trend. We saw this is going to change everything, right? If you could do this kind of level of code writing in October of 2024, what's going to be in 25, 26, 27? And we jumped on that trend. We built out BotSpot, released our brand new AI that basically could leverage this ability to make trading strategies specifically. And it's been a freight train ever since. So we basically have an AI that can produce trading strategies. These are things that used to literally take people years to learn how to do. And now you can build it out in like a few seconds, a couple minutes. You could talk to the AI. It writes code for you. It's very, very flexible. It could build pretty much any kind of trading strategy you could think of with just by talking to it, by, kind of saying, hey, AI, literally you can actually, we've had a couple customers that literally just say to it, make me a strategy that makes me money. And it actually sometimes even works just saying that, it's pretty cool.
That's fantastic. And that's available now. People can get to that now.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Oh, awesome. I do have a question because with AI being able to, with the O1 model and being able to generate code so well, compared to what we had before, a lot of software engineers are worried about losing their jobs. And I don't want to get into that whole discussion, but as someone who has experience building a platform like this, where do you feel like the AI does a good job with the code, and where do you feel like you need to get some human intervention to really make it work?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm generally not a believer in this whole thing of AI is going to take everyone's jobs. Like I know there's competing beliefs on that. I'm generally on the other side of the fence. I'm thinking AI is actually going to create a lot of jobs, right? Obviously, some sort of jobs will go away and you'll change how you do things, just like software engineers, right? Like if you're a software engineer that's not using AI, God help you. You know what I mean? Like that's a personal choice. If you choose to go that direction, good luck with your career, right? But for the people that are using AI, I mean, our demand for software engineers has never been higher, right? They could just do more, right? A software engineer that used to take, a week to do a login page or longer, right, can now do that in a day or less, right? So all of a sudden, these people are much more valuable. So not only are they able to move faster, but they're able to build bigger things, right? They can now build these generating tools like these AI, like you could use AI to build AI, right? You could use AI to now do voice and video and all these different kinds of things. So when it comes to that whole thing of whether AI is going to take the job of software engineer, I really don't believe that.
Yeah, that's important. That's important to me to talk to you about this because you're someone who hires software engineers, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I think it's really important to get the message out that if you're a software engineer using AI, you can get more done faster, get more projects done, which generate more projects, which need more software engineers, right?
Mhm. Correct. Yeah. Yeah. It's changed a bit, like what we look for in a software engineer. The typical stuff is still important. Do you know how databases work and that kind of stuff? But that's becoming less important than, do you actually care about what we're building? And do you actually understand what the customer wants? I feel like software engineers are starting to become a little bit more like project managers or product managers, right? Where previously we would have hired a whole team of engineers to just do like some very, very technical work. Whereas now I would expect those same engineers to also be thinking, what does the user want and how can we build that out? Right. Which, to be honest with you, was, if you worked at a high end Silicon Valley type company, or even in New York, I worked at Voyager, we kind of had the same mentality. It was kind of like that already at the good companies, but now it's kind of like propagating down, I think, right? Where
Yeah.
you want to have engineers that are not just engineers. You want like product focused engineers, right?
Well, I love anything that's going to help folks coming in at the early stages of their career, whether that's in tech or something else, become leaders in their field, become leaders in their industry, because that's what we're all about here on this podcast, is talking about leadership. So, what
Yep.
was your journey into entrepreneurship, and what was your first official startup?
I mean, I've been doing this my whole life. I'm one of those like, I've been doing software and entrepreneurship like as long as I can remember. I learned how to code when I was like 10, 11 years old. I started my first like little business selling knickknacks down the street at like 8 or something like that. I sold like little firecrackers to the neighborhood kids, and I've kind of just had that mentality my entire life. I guess my first like software business, you can say business because I was still very young at the time. I was maybe about 15 years old. I made something for this game called Diablo 2. I made a hack for that game that ended up getting wildly popular. Made quite a bit of money doing that. I actually made more money than my parents for for a couple of weeks at least when I was 15 years old, which got me like super excited, not only about software, but about business as well. So that sent me to business school. I did my master's in finance and then started my first like real startup where, we had a team together and, we built all this out right out of grad school. So I think I was 21 years old. I think we sold that company when I was like 23 or 24. So that was my first business, I guess, officially business, right?
We'll love that. Love to talk to exited founders, and love to talk to folks who have been through the ups and downs. And
Mhm.
you've been through some ups and downs, or at least some of your companies you've worked with have. You talked about being part of Voyager. They reached a value of over $1 billion, then they crashed. Now, I want to be really clear with our audience. That happened long after you left to form LumiWealth.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
But what did you learn from building up Voyager and then seeing what happened later?
Yeah, I mean, Voyager was fantastic. It really taught me a lot about, getting good talent. Like I think that was the most talented engineering team I've ever worked with. Um, I think a lot to do with because we were working on an exciting product. It's something that like got people's energy going, right? So it really taught me a lot about that. Like you want to build. I was actually listening to something. What was it yesterday? Where they're talking about you want to build a company or you want to have a mission that you can get people behind, right? It's kind of paradoxical where it seems like the more difficult things would be harder to build, but they're actually easier to build, right? So like if you have a company that you're building, something that no one really cares about, right? It might seem easy to do, but it's very hard to get good talent. It's very hard to get people on board, whatever. But if you're building something exciting and like, wow, this could like really change the world and do something very big, like a crypto company, especially, 6 years ago, crypto company, I was like, this is the heydays of like, this could be really, really big. It still is like that. But back then it was like really, the hype cycle was quite extreme. When we didn't have AI, right? AI is kind of taking the place of that. Um, but yeah, we were able to just get like a really, really talented people. We were able to get a lot more funding behind it. We got the guys that created Uber as investors, so we had a ton of capital. I think that's really important. Is just have a mission that people actually care about. I think is really important.
Yeah, you bring up the easy things aren't always easy, right? And it reminds me for the military and history nerds who are watching like me, or listening like me, it brings me back to Clausewitz, right? You know, we base a lot of our military strategy even today on the things that Clausewitz taught 200 years ago, and he said that everything in war is simple, but just because something's simple, it doesn't mean it's easy, and it's almost easier to go after a complex problem because you're already in the mode of we're going to have to break this up, and we're going to have to just really be thorough and careful and do the work, right?
Yeah, for sure. And for me, I think the key here is the talent and the capital, right? Because if you're doing something that no one cares about, it's going to be very hard to get talented engineers to work for you. They're just not going to care. They're going to be like, what are you doing? You're like making. I remember there's this one company I went for an interview for when I first moved to New York, and they were like making like picture frames, like digital picture frames. I'm like, yeah, that's cool. I'm sure you guys have a great business. I don't care about this. You know what I mean? You would have to pay me a lot of money to convince me to work there versus like a crypto or an AI company. I would take a pay cut to work there. You know what I mean? It's because it's exciting. It's new. It's something that could grow. You know, anyone who's like really good in their career will recognize that it's more than just the salary that you should be chasing after. You should be chasing after the growing aspects of society and trying to find a company that's the next big thing, right? And if an employee is thinking that way, a talented employee is thinking that way, then you as a business owner, you have an advantage if you are that company, right?
Yeah, I think that's so important. Whether you're an entrepreneur, a founder, or you're in corporate and you're trying to hire people, that people, yes, people want the money. Nobody's turning down their paychecks, right? But the mission, the good they're going to bring into the world, can go a long way. And if you can communicate in a really compelling way that you're doing something that's really interesting and really going to change the world, people will come, even if you don't have that much to offer in terms of pay and benefits.
Yeah, exactly. Because, you know, if you're a smart employee, if you're someone who's good at your field, you recognize that, you know, even if I don't, first of all, those companies then do tend to pay pretty well because they're able to get a lot of capital as well, right? Because there's that whole aspect of like, if you're going out to raise money, investors are also going to give you more money if you're doing something more exciting and bigger and whatever. So a lot of the times those companies actually even do have the bigger paychecks. But even if they didn't, it's not only about that. You're thinking, okay, well, this thing could be maybe 10 times bigger in 2 years. I could start managing a team, or, you know, I'll have equity in the company, and that equity is going to be worth a lot more. So at the end of the day, it still kind of comes down to the financial aspect of it, but it's not the immediate financial aspect, right? Because there's more behind that, right? There's also a skill set that you learn. Like if you were to, you know, for example, right now, if you're a talented engineer and you're working for a company that is not doing AI, why would you want to work there? Right? Like, I mean, this is such an important skill set to learn. And if you're not doing AI, you're going to be growing slower. You're going to be doing stuff that's less interesting. And if you need to go work somewhere else afterwards, you have less marketable skills. It just doesn't make sense. Right?
Yeah, and not just for engineers, right? For anyone,
Yeah.
if your
Anyone.
company
Yeah.
not just not embracing AI but refusing to use AI, they're not setting you up for success in the future.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think engineering, because that's like my general background, but yeah, it's the same thing. Even for marketing, you know, we hire a bunch of marketing people. When we tell them we're an AI company, their eyes light up. They're a lot more interested, you know.
I bet. So results aside, long-term results aside, was there a particularly tough challenge you faced at Voyager, technical or management-wise? And how did you and your team overcome it?
um, I feel like in a high growth startup, challenges is like literally what happens every day. Every single day, there's something going on, right? We started Voyager. I mean, the challenge was just like the engineering complexity of it. Like, how the heck do you build a trading system that can handle like millions of trades a day kind of thing? Like, that was like really difficult to do in a secure fashion, because we launched the product. We literally had the first person try to hack us within like an hour. It was
No
crazy.
surprise there.
I mean, it surprised me how fast it happened. I wasn't surprised that people tried to hack us. We were prepared for that, thankfully. But like, I mean, we launched a product an hour later, someone's trying to hack our system, right? So, you know, building something that's very secure was really important. Building something that's very scalable is really important. And those were like quite difficult technical challenges. Just working with crypto alone back in the day, 6-7 years ago, when we started Voyager, I mean, there weren't all these tools that are available. It was just like trying to figure out how the heck to even do this to begin with, right? So yes, there's a lot of technical challenges. And then throughout the company, there's a lot of challenges too. Crypto itself is very volatile. So when we started the company, it was one of the good times in crypto, and then the bad times came along. We went from, I think when I joined crypto, I think Bitcoin was at around like 1,000 per coin, which is crazy to think how long ago that was, right? It was like 1,000 a coin when we joined. It shot up to like 10,000 a coin or something like that, and then dropped right back down to 3,000 or 2,000. Right. So that run up was really, really good. Very easy to get money, very easy to get talent. Everything was going great. And then when it dropped back down again, now it's hard times again. And you have to like, take pay cuts, or like don't get paid for a little bit, or you can't hire as many people. People are getting fired. Right. Like you have to kind of get through that as a business. And then the ups come again, and you see the growth again. So it's like just being in the crypto space alone was quite challenging from, a cash management kind of perspective,
Welcome to startup life, right?
Startup life, but yeah, startup life in general is like that. But crypto companies are a special beast, because you're not only at the whim of startups, that you have like a limited amount of capital, but then also the market's going up and down on you, right? So it's like, when crypto's up and Bitcoin's up, everyone wants to give you money. Everyone's happy. Let's throw cash at everything, right? When crypto's down, like it dries up so fast. It's crazy. These people that are willing to give you a $10 million paycheck, they disappear overnight. It's like you go from 10 million bucks to zero, like overnight. It's crazy.
I can imagine the ups and downs are a challenge all in themselves. Now, you've had a number of ventures, you've had a number of exits, you've understandably taken some time off after each of those exits. But what keeps bringing you back to entrepreneurship?
I don't know. I find it so much fun. I've tried just having like jobs, like a corporate job. I like the people I worked with. It was cool, whatever, and it paid well. But I don't know. I just get so bored, right? Like it's just not. I think some people just have personalities like that, right? Like for me, it's like I need the excitement. I need the potential upside. Like it's a reason for me to get up in the morning. If I just got up every day and I'm getting paid, 200 grand a year or whatever, right? That sounds like a pretty good chunk of change. To me, I don't know, I'd be bored. Like why do I want that? Like I want to get up and think like, okay, what if we build this into the next big thing? What if we double our revenue? What if we, it's exciting. It's all that kind of stuff. Not to mention it pays well, right? Like if you pull it off, you get like really, really big paychecks at the end of the day. Much more than $250,000 a year or whatever, right? You get a much bigger paycheck than that. But yeah, the excitement I think is really kind of the main thing, right?
Yeah, it's so funny. Last night I was texting with a friend of mine from the Air Force, actually a previous guest on this podcast, Mike Scott, U.S. Senate candidate for the Libertarian Party in Maryland last year. God, that was a year ago. But he said, "Hey, when are you? Why are you doing all this? When are you just gonna take your retirement pay, your military retirement pay, and retire to the Philippines like a king?" And I said, "I could do that, but Mike, you know me. Like 3 days in, I'd be looking for a project to do." I'd be off looking for that lost World War II gold or whatever it is. Like I wouldn't just sit there. So
yeah,
entrepreneurs are a little special that way. Yes, the money's great, and there's potential upside, and that's awesome when that comes. But a lot of times it's just about taking on a challenge.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could teach someone to run a company, but you can't really teach someone to be an entrepreneur. I think it's like it's one of those things they kind of just like doing or not, right? Like it's for me, I guess there's extremes of it, right? Like, I mean, I started my first, like, I was selling stuff when I was like 8 years old. I was selling, like, I made firecrackers and sold it to like the neighbors and stuff when I was like a little kid. You know what I mean? Like this is just kind of like innate in me. We were doing like lemonade stands. I had a paper route way before, like, well, whatever. This is something that, like, I started doing at a very, very young age. And I noticed a lot of my friends are like that. They're the same thing. They're like, they're just like, I need to find a way to make money. I don't care, right? I'm not going to wait until someone gives me a paycheck. I'm not going to wait until someone gives me permission. I'm just going to go and do it, right? And that's kind of that entrepreneur mentality, right?
Absolutely. So you've had a few ventures where you've raised funding from investors. What have you learned about communication and selling an idea from pitching investors?
Yeah, I mean, how much time do you got?
There's as much time as you want. My day is booked out for you.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to it, right? I think starting like what we talked about with a really good mission, like what are you trying to accomplish? Do something that like people actually care about, that will actually move the needle in the world. We don't need, the 10,000 social network or whatever, right? But if you're out there, you want to solve a real problem, cancer, right? That's a big problem to solve. Aging, big problem to solve. Like there's like solve a problem, first of all, that people actually care about. I would start with that, right? And ideally something that you have. I mean, if you're younger, then you can kind of do whatever. If you're older, then probably you want to find something that also you have some experience in, right? For those of us that are, approaching 40s or more, um, you probably want to marry that with something that you've actually done throughout your life. They have some sort of edge in, right? For me, finance and engineering, like those are my things, right? So it makes sense for me to build a company that has those things combined, and also is, has a big vision for the future. So I would start with that, right? Then second of all, you really want to nail your pitch deck, right? And if you've never built a pitch deck before, what I would do is I'd watch a bunch of pitch competitions. They're all kind of the same thing. Y Combinator just has a bunch of really good stuff on this, like how to build a good pitch deck. Y Combinator has great videos in general. You can watch a lot of the Y Combinator pitches, and you can watch a lot of these other pitches, like pitch competitions that people do. You'll kind of get, and I mean, for what you're trying to build, right? Like not just Shark Tank, right? Shark Tank is kind of like that. But Shark Tank is a very specific kind of business. They're usually like consumer products that are like physical in nature, right? But if you're building a tech product, you want to look at pitches for tech products, right? Find a lot of people are pitching that kind of stuff. Take a look at, what are pitch decks in that space, successful pitch decks in that space look like, and kind of just copy them, right? You don't need to reinvent the wheel. Just copy what already works, right? Typically, that's something like, what is your mission? What's your vision? What are you what's your competition is a big thing in there. I'm trying to think about our pitch deck right now. How much money are you raising, at what valuation? What have you accomplished so far? What does your product look like so far if you built something? What does your roadmap look like? So all this like typical stuff, get that into a pitch deck, put that together. What we did, and it's been working really well to kind of get in front of investors, is I hired someone off WeWork, and it basically got them to apply to all the there's tons of like angel groups across Canada, US, Europe, all the big markets. They have angel groups where I pitched, for example, this angel group called Kiretsu Angel Group earlier this week, right? And they're based in Toronto. They have like 100 investors there. They do like a screening, and then if you're good, they'll let you do it in front of like a whole big group, right? So like you pitch in front of like 3 people, and then you pitch in front of 100 if they like you. These tend to be very easy, right? So if you get someone from Upwork, you could get just apply to all of these. There's like 100 of them across North America. Apply to all of them. I bet you'll get at least some bites. You'll get a chance to pitch in front of a bunch of people, and I think that's probably the easiest way to kind of, because you want to have a good pitch deck, you want to have a polished pitch, and you want to get in front of people, right? That's kind of the 3 things that you need, right? And that will good pitch deck, watch a bunch of stuff, polish your pitch in front of a mirror, watch other people doing it, and then you need to get in front of people to actually pitch. And the angel groups, I think, are just the easiest. VCs, if you don't have a lot of experience doing this stuff, pitching VCs is probably going to be harder than pitching angel groups. VCs, they tend to be a lot more sophisticated, and they're writing bigger check sizes. So typically, unless you have like a really, really interesting product, whatever, it's a lot harder to get money from VCs. They also tend to like screw you in with some terms. You got to be very careful with that, because they could get you. Some VCs can really mess you up with some of the terms they give you. So I'd say angel groups are probably the best. Friends and family, obviously, if you want to talk to, if you have a rich uncle, pitch them, right? Or, if you have existing customers, that's kind of where we got a lot of our investors from for LumiWealth, is we just reached out to existing customers and said, hey, do you guys want to invest? And we've been getting quite a few from there. So that's kind of the way that I would approach it personally.
Yeah, there's a lot of great lessons in there. Most importantly, understand the different kinds of funding that are out there, the different kinds of investors that are out there. Also, I love what you said about going to the angel groups, and you said something really important about the angel group that is a screening process. Some do, some don't, and that's okay either way. But what's nice, like, you shouldn't shy away from it if you're a founder. Like, well, if they're not going to put me in for the pitch, I don't want to do it, because as part of that screening process, you'll probably get some feedback from the screening process that you
Oh yeah.
wouldn't get in the room with the investors, and especially you won't get with VCs. VCs will watch your pitch, say maybe, and then you'll never hear from them again. You won't hear a word about what they liked, what they didn't like, and you talked about Shark Tank, and I love Shark Tank, but it's mostly entertainment, right? And it's mostly those consumer product goods things. But I think there are two really important lessons from Shark Tank, if you watch it regularly, that founders, especially tech founders, can take away. One, know your market and know your numbers. And
Hmm.
two, and Mr. Wonderful on Shark Tank asked this question of almost every pitch: how does it make me money?
Yep.
If you can keep those two things in mind when you're building your pitch, even if you don't cover it explicitly in your pitch, you are much better prepared to go into that pitch than anyone who's not doing that.
Absolutely. Yeah, and the how does it make me money? That's actually a very good question. Not only is it, how does the business itself make money, but then how do the investors make money? You got to think about that way as well. When I first started on this process, I was thinking, we need to pitch our business, and we're not allowed to. Like, I actually had this mentality in my head where you're not allowed to actually pitch the investors, right? Because there's all these legal things, whatever. I'm thinking, I can't tell them you're going to make X%, but like, every investor will ask you that. Like, when you start actually pitching, they're like, what am I going to make on my money? I'm going to give you 100 grand. What do I get back? Right. And you kind of have to speculate. You say, well, okay, obviously there's caveats, whatever, but we think you're going to be able to 10x your money, 20x your money by X date. Like, that is actually important to do. And the first time that I started pitching, I was like, we're not allowed to do that. That's not legal. Like, no. Like, if you're talking to a credit investor, you're allowed to do that. And even if you're talking to non-credit investors, you're allowed to do that, but you have to have certain documentation to say, okay, here's the risks and whatever. But that's the main thing that they want to know, right? Is, okay, how's the business making money? Sure, but how am I going to get my money back? Right? I'm going to give you 100 grand. Are you going to 10x it, 20x it? Why? Give me the proof behind that. And how are you going to do that? Are you going to go do an IPO? Are you going to sell the company? Are you going to, what are you going to do to actually pay me back? Right? And that's a very important question.
Love it. I didn't expect this to turn into a masterclass in pitching investors, but I'm glad we're getting through this. I'm glad we're sharing your advice from being through it a bunch of times. So I want to take a break from the serious questions. I want to play a game. Are you up for a game?
Sure. Love games.
All right. The name of this game is Rapid Response. I'm going to ask you a series of questions. I want you to respond with the first thing that comes to your mind. Doesn't need to be a one-word answer. Elaborate as much or as little as you'd like, but we just want to get to know Robert a little bit. In a way, some of the other questions may not get us there, okay?
Okay, cool. Let's do it.
All right. Robert Grzesik, rapid response round. Your time begins now. Podcast recommendation.
Oh, I love the All In podcast. That's my favorite.
I'd say a very common one we hear. What is a practice you'd like to see more people embrace?
A practice? What do you mean by that exactly?
Well, sometimes people answer meditation. Sometimes my favorite one is critical thinking. Something we should all be doing to make ourselves better, make our businesses better, make the world better.
I think meditation is a good one. I think generally physical exercise and sleep is really important. That's something that maybe I'm not following well enough. But I've learned more and more so, running a business, at least, this current company, like, just kind of running yourself into the ground, just working like crazy long hours, and like, health doesn't matter. Let's just work harder, and eventually it starts to catch up to you. So I would say, focus on sleep, focus on exercise, take care of your health. I think that's really important.
Love it. Someone we should all be paying attention to.
Someone we should all be paying attention to. I've been watching a lot of this guy that runs Replit. I've been watching a lot of his videos lately. I think a lot of the AI guys, I would really pay a lot of attention to. I'd pay a lot of attention to all the people from OpenAI very closely, what they're doing. The Amodeo, the guy running Anthropic, I watch a lot of stuff by him. Maybe it's not one person, but like anyone who's like on the forefront of AI, I like, as soon as a new video comes out, I want to hear about it immediately, because this is just, it's the world in general is changing so fast because of AI that if you're not at the forefront of this, you're going to miss something very important. Yeah.
I love it. What is either your get pumped up song or your walk on music?
I don't know. I'm kind of bad with this. I don't listen to a lot of music. I probably should listen to more. Kind of helps with the mood and all that. I tend to listen to podcasts when I walk, either audiobooks or podcasts. So I would say the weird answers is Audible or YouTube when I'm walking.
Totally okay. Totally okay. What is the biggest influence in your life?
Biggest influence in my life, like a person or a thing. Like how would
it could be a person, it could be a thing. Kind of open response answer for you.
Biggest influence in my life? That is a good question. I'm not sure. I mean, someone who has had a really big influence on me and I've never met him, I'd love to meet him, is Ray Dalio. A lot of his books are really, really good. Just his philosophy on investing and the book Principles was really influential in my life. I thought that was a fantastic book to read. So that really influenced my life quite a bit, I'd say.
Yeah, Principles is great. Someone got me that as a gift when it first came out, and I read it. I really had a hard time putting it down to go do other things for the first days I had it. It's great. So our next question is a book everyone should read. So is that Principles or do you have another one?
Yeah, I'd say Principles. There's another book by Ray Dalio, The Changing World Order. I think that one's a really important one to read. I don't think enough people understand what's happening in the economy right now. This is like very predictable what a lot of stuff is happening. People, get really worked up about what's happening in politics and whatever. And to me, like looking at, it's funny. 2020, I remember having a conversation with some friends saying, I think that there's going to be a lot of war in the world and there's going to be a lot of difficulties up ahead. And in 2020, the pandemic just started, and I was talking to some friends about this, and they laughed at me. They said, what are you talking about? Everything's great. Everything's honky-dory. No problems, nothing. And then all of a sudden, all this craziness breaks loose across in so many different, not even just in America, right? Across the entire world, right? And there's very good reasons for that, right? This is not necessarily just a social thing. There's actually numerical reasons behind this. Right. If you read Ray Dalio's book, it's really, really good at explaining why this is happening. The debt issues that we have in the West, right? Our countries are very much in debt. US, Canada, Europe, all those countries have way too much debt on hand. The deficit is really bad. The differences between rich and poor people is really bad, which causes a lot of these conflicts. There's the rising world power of China versus the United States, which is shifting a lot of power dynamics across the world. I think that is very important to understand, because this is going to influence your investment decisions. It's going to influence a lot of different things that have to do with money going forward. So if you want to be successful with your investing and with your portfolios, I would strongly suggest reading that book.
Yeah, Changing World Order is a fantastic book. It's a couple of years old now. And so if you read it now, you will see many of the things that Ray Dalio said were going to happen have started to happen. But even if you don't accept his conclusions, that's okay. I recommend just go read it and look at all the parallels in the math and the numbers to all these historical empires he compares the United States to, and draw your own conclusions. But you can't deny the data.
Absolutely. I can see that you've read it.
It's funny. I heard Ray Dalio on a podcast when the book was first coming out. And I immediately went and put a hold on it in the library. I think I had to wait like 6 weeks to get it, but I read it almost right after it came out. And it was like, and again, this was a few years ago. So it was like, well, I hope he's wrong about these conclusions, but I can't deny the data. I can't deny how these graphs all line up.
Yep. He hasn't been wrong. I mean, he is the closest thing that I know to a fortune teller. Like, literally everything he said has come true. Like, almost so crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't deny the data, right? It's a historical pattern. So everyone should read it. Go read it. What is the best fall recreational activity in Toronto?
The best fall recreational activity. Oh my goodness. I really like going. There's a place called Go Place that I really like going to. This is not just in the fall. It's like they have like saunas and like red light therapy. They have like a restaurant there, but there's like no alcohol, so it's like, you know, you sit there. It's like a very nice, healthy kind of break from things. That's my favorite recreational activity. It's just chill, sauna, you know, red light therapy. They have like massage chairs, all that kind of stuff. I love going there. That's my favorite recreational activity.
That sounds fantastic.
Yeah, it's great.
What is-
Yeah, they actually have like videos of like these ones that they have in China, where like you can literally sleep there. Like it's almost like a hotel. You could like stay there overnight if you wanted to. And they kind of replicated that, and they did that in Toronto, and I'm a big fan of that.
Fantastic. What is your dream vacation spot?
I feel like I've traveled quite a bit, so I really like the like Mexico Tulum area. We lived there for a while. I lived in Playa del Carmen and Tulum for a while. During COVID, Canada had some pretty bad lockdowns, and I just said screw it, and we went to go live in Tulum for a while. And I love it out there personally. We'd still be out there if it wasn't for my kid. We now have almost a 2-year-old, and my wife just said, no, we're not living in Mexico with a 2-year-old. So that's changed. But we lived there for a number of years and loved it out there.
I know you're really excited about AI. Are there any other trends, tech or otherwise, that you're excited about?
Yeah, AI is definitely the big one. I think what's happening in AI is extraordinary. I'm also really excited what's happening in biotech. Like, I mean, if I had the expertise, I would be starting a biotech company right now. I think what is happening is just crazy. Like, I follow Paul Graham on X. You know, the guy who founded Y Combinator, right? So he's really plugged into the startup ecosystem. He arguably has started but helped create some of the biggest tech companies on earth, right? It's because of him that they happen, arguably. And I was following him on Twitter, and he said one week, he's like, I met with 2 companies in the past week that said that they could cure cancer. And he's like, I have a very strong belief that in 10 years, cancer is no longer going to be a thing. And it's just like, what? You know? But when you look at kind of the emergence of all the different technologies that are happening right now in biotech, everything from CRISPR to there's a lot of stuff happening right now with what are those called again? Like the proteins, like the Ozempics. It's a specific kind of not a protein, but not an amino acid, something else in the middle there. But they're able to do a lot of really crazy things, right? So everything from weight loss to there's ones like the peptides, what they're called, weight loss to building muscle, to making your skin look nicer, to potentially making you live longer, increasing your telomere length, like all that kind of stuff from peptides is another crazy thing that's happening. There's nanotechnology that if you read Kurzweil's book, that's another really good one to read. Ray Kurzweil, he talks about there's these companies building out like nanobots that might be possible in the next 5 to 10 years. You inject yourself with like nanobots that can like fight off infections and like potentially like fix your heart and stuff like that. Like, it's just wild what's happening in that space. Like, if I had the experience, if I went to med school, I would be all over that right now, trying to raise as much money as possible, because like this is like the future.
Yeah, I've seen a number of biotech pitches over the last couple months, and even with an engineering background, I know enough to know this tech is beyond me. I can't make a good assessment of does this work, does this not. But again, when they put their graphs up on the screen, if they're, can't argue with the data. So there's a lot of exciting stuff going on in biotech.
It's crazy. Like I mean, I don't know if you heard about like Yamanaka factors is like another really interesting one. They're saying that this could potentially double people's lifespans, and this might be available in like 5 years from now. Like, what the hell is going on? It's wild. Yeah.
All right, last one. Favorite sports team or player?
I gotta say Toronto Raptors. I'm from Toronto. When we won the what's it called, the championship a couple years ago, the city was just wild. That was a lot of fun. I've never seen a party like that ever in my entire life. People celebrating like that. It was a lot of fun. So I gotta say Toronto Raptors is my favorite team.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for playing our game. Appreciate getting the chance to know you a little better. To get back to it, you came up through a technical background and being a CTO before you became a CEO. What's different about being a CEO than being somewhere else in the company? And then what do you look for when you're hiring a technical lead?
um, it's a lot more work, to say the least, a lot more stress, a lot more work. As a CTO, you could focus on technology and building good stuff. As a CEO, the house is burning down constantly. It's like putting out fires all day long. CTO, you're focused on tech. CEO, you're focused on marketing and technology and raising capital and everything else under the sun. So it's quite a bit more difficult. Not just in terms of work, but in just terms of the variety of work is quite a bit different. So CEOs is, I have a lot of respect for anyone who starts and runs a company. Like it's not an easy job. But what would I look for in a technical lead is, again, right now, I very much look for people that actually care about what we're building and understand our customers to some degree. They don't have to be masters in the space, but they should actually care. Like, for example, we're building a trading technology, right? We're building technology for like AI to manage money, right? And if you don't care about the stock market, and if you don't care about crypto, if you don't care about options, you've never traded a day in your life, that's going to be a hard sell, right? Because that's telling me, A, you don't have the experience, and B, you just don't care, right? Like having a passion behind what you're doing, I think is really important. And then obviously, if we're looking for a good technical leader, we want someone with a lot of experience. We want someone who, knows complicated things, that could work quickly, good at management, right? Are you someone who is going to tick off a bunch of people? Are you able to like keep a calm head when things get crazy and, able to like get people back onto your side? Like all the typical leadership type stuff is what I'd be looking for. I wouldn't want someone who's like a recluse sitting in their, room all day long. I'd want someone who's like can get in front of a team and actually inspire people, right? That's what I'd be looking for in a CTO.
Yeah, I think that's really important, and sometimes that doesn't happen on its own. What are some things we can be doing as leaders to help build our young people, our young engineers into the CTOs of the future?
Yeah, I mean, I think leadership is a learnable skill, right? Some people are naturally better at it than others, but I think it's something that you can learn. Studying psychology, I think, is a really good thing to do. What was it called? How to Win Friends and Influence People. Really good book to read. Kind of the basics, right? Don't argue with people endlessly about nonsense. Like things like that. Just basic psychology principles, I think, is important to learn. Learning how to organize people well. We used kind of Scrum methodology, right? Agile development, right? Learning that methodology, I think, is quite important. Learning how to just basics, Kanban boards, weekly meetings, stand-ups, stuff like that, right? I think that's very helpful, at least for a tech company. So learning that stuff, learning the psychology principles behind it. Generally have kind of your own house in order. I mean, if you're a mess by yourself, you're going to have a hard time leading other people. Both because they're going to see you like, you're not taking care of yourself, right? You're all over the place. People are not going to want to follow you, right? But then also it's going to be harder for you to lead because you're going to be more anxious and have problems like that too. So I think getting your own house in order is pretty important as well. I think a lot of these, I think a lot of the same advice that you'd give to maybe a younger guy who's trying to, meet a girl or something like that, meet a member of the opposite sex. I think a lot of the same advice goes there, right? It's like good communication skills, have your own house in order, make sure you take care of yourself, treat other people well, right? I think all that stuff is really important,
It's great advice because it's always amazing to me, even though I've been learning this and teaching this for decades, is the things you do to get yourself set up for success are those are the skills that help you be a good follower in an organization, which are the things that help you be a great leader in an organization. It's astounding how just do the things that take care of yourself, then start taking care of your peers, then start taking care of other people, and it all works out.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're a mess, you can't take care of other people. If you can't take care of yourself, how are you supposed to take care of someone else?
Absolutely. So, how have you had to adjust the way you lead as you've helped scale and grow a rapid growth company?
Oh my goodness. Growing a very like Voyager was just crazy fast growth. Mopals was very fast growth. LumiWealth, we're not seeing the same level of like the amount of people we're bringing on board, or maybe I'm just used to it at this point. Um, but scaling from like 5 people to 20, or from 5 people to 100 people over the course of a 2-year period, that is like crazy. Um, that's what Voyager was like. That's what Mopals was like when I was there, in leadership type positions. You're just constantly hiring people. Like, you're doing interviews all the time. So you have to get really good at interviewing people, right? You have to get really good at firing people. If they suck, get rid of them quickly, right? I think that's really important. We've definitely had to do that a bunch of times. Being able to reorganize things constantly, right? Like, if you're going from 5 people to 20 people, that's a level of leadership they have to set up, right? You now have to think about, okay, well, who's going to manage these 20 people, right? Is it going to be one person managing all of them, or are you going to split it up, right? And then how do you set up the hierarchy? You have to start thinking about like organizational structure, right? And who's going to be running what, and then who's reporting to who, and then how are you training these people to be good leaders? So you need to be thinking about stuff like that as well.
Awesome. So what is coming up for you and LumiWealth in the next few months?
So we're scaling our product up. We're really working on aggressively making our AI a lot better. Every week they come to our website, it's just better and better and better AI. So we're really making that a lot better. Everything from, you talk to our AI, and we want to make it so the first time around it works well, right? It's still kind of hard to get to that point. Usually you have to do a couple iterations, but we're getting closer to the whole, like, you tell it one time to build something and it builds it properly and it works the first time around. That's kind of something that we're really focused on. We're focused on kind of making more agentic flows where you can actually talk to your strategy. So you could almost ask it questions like, why did you trade on Wednesday and not on Friday? Why did this happen? Or how can we improve this? And how do we make more money? And why did this strategy lose money? So having that whole like conversational aspect, we're building a lot of those types of AI features into our product. We're working a lot with getting more data in. We actually just struck a really good deal with Theta Data. For those of you that want to use a good trading system, we could get you really, really good data for very cheap. Polygon up until now was kind of our main data provider. It would cost $200 a month to get their top tier. We are now getting something better than the top tier for $20 a month per asset class. So we could get like really good back tests in. So having that partnership, I think, is really crucial for what we're doing going forward. We're expanding our marketplace. We're trying to get more creators on board, people that create more algorithms. So we're going to be doing some competitions soon. So if you think you have some good trading strategies, come on board. We're going to be running competitions. We're going to give you ways to monetize that. So if you're a good options trader, if you're a good stock trader, a good futures trader, come build on our AI. And when you get those strategies out, you could win the prizes that we're doing through our competitions, or you'll be able to just directly charge money for it and make money that way. So creators, come our way. And then we're planning on starting to go after businesses as well. It's amazing how many investors I speak to whenever I tell them we're doing B2B, their eyes light up. I mean, it's like that is definitely the next stage that we want to get to. So we're going to be building an AI that can not only trade, but can also manage money in general. So imagine you run a corporation. It can actually handle your bank accounts and like optimize for like, how do you have the best cash flow, and how do you have the best investment returns given you have money lying around, that sort of thing. One of my friends runs an insurance company, and we want to build a tool for him that can, normally you'd hire a CFO or an analyst to do this for at least $100,000 a year, if not more. We're going to have something that could kind of automate that job, right? That would take it from a bank account, put it into treasury bills, automatically figure out how long it should stay there for, what are the legal limits, all that kind of stuff, and optimize for their cash that's sitting around on their books, to do that kind of stuff. So B2B is kind of a really big thing that we're going to be pushing for as well.
That's really exciting. All the things you're doing coming up are really exciting. So get in on that. If you think you've got some great trading strategies, get in on those competitions. This has been so great. I want to thank you for joining us, Robert. Where can
Thank
everyone
you.
find you so they can thank you for joining us today?
You could find us. I mean, YouTube is probably our number one place. LumiWealth on YouTube, LumiWealth. Go there, subscribe. We do live events every week. We put out a lot of shorts from that. I'm actually doing a live event in 4 minutes. So if you guys, you probably won't see this recording until next week, but every Thursday, 1 p.m. Eastern, if you guys want to see us actually build AI strategies live, check us out on YouTube. You can usually subscribe to the next live event before it happens. So you'll get a nice little reminder saying, hey, this thing's starting. And you could watch, the magic of AI and trading.
That's awesome. And I will have you at your event on time. I want to thank everyone who's watching and listening. If you found this conversation valuable, go ahead and share it with someone who can use it. Share it with someone who's interested in trading, because I think we all are interested in making a little bit more money. Leave a comment. Don't forget to subscribe. Give us a 5-star review if you're on a podcast platform where you can leave a review. That really helps us build our audience and get these interviews with great guests like Robert out to a bigger audience to hear what they have to say. So we've got lots more amazing leaders coming your way in the coming weeks. So go out there, do great things today, onward and upward.